Randy asked, and this is going to be this is a triathlete asking this question, but I know it's going to be probably a little bit different for runners and road cyclists. But Randy asks, is there such a thing as racing too much? And if so, when do you dial it back?
Yes, but there's a caveat on that because there's coaching. There's a caveat on everything.
I reserve the right to tell you to do something differently.
Exactly. Like one thing I think that a lot of people don't do is race enough. Obviously this year, that's like out the window. Like
everybody's fresh.
Yeah, everybody's really fresh. Nobody's racing at all. But in a normal year, like, no, I think like if you can race every weekend during a month, do it. But then you got to balance out what you're doing during the week. Like you can't go do 4 Olympic distances in a month and then like be like knocking out like 120 TSS training rides and training runs and 3 like hard masters swim workouts during the week. It just doesn't work.
You're gonna die. Crazy.
You probably won't die.
I mean, it depends.
You might not perform well, which might kill your ego, which is a good thing, actually.
You're right. And so I'm gonna add to that a little bit. I think people don't race enough, and I'm talking from a triathlon specific side. Is that we've become very long course focused because basically, if you're not doing an Ironman branded event up until this year, you basically they're like, well, you're not really a triathlete if you're not doing a half or full. There were people coming in going straight to the half distance, which is bonkers.
Oh, completely.
And they're finishing it, but you sit there going, oh my God, you look terrible. And it was a 4.5 hour day, or I guess a 5 hour day. But the thing is that I think what happens is people have lost that loving feeling for like racing, like legitimately me looking at you or watching you just ahead of me and going, I'm passing that person. When it comes to the long stuff, the longer, slower the burn, the less that the race is actually a thing. You're not necessarily gunning people down. You go to a 5K, that last mile, you are trying to catch every person in front of you. Sprint distance racing is that way. Every person in front of you needs to go down, every single one of them. And we lose a little bit of that edge, I think. And also, I don't think athletes understand that racing actually, it's a great metric. If you're doing a race leading up to a bigger event, it's a great metric for fitness because you are under duress, you are in the moment racing, not just out on the training ride. There's no drafting, all this other stuff. But I think that it kind of keeps that killer instinct. It keeps that drive. It keeps that passion, that feedback. And so I think that people need to race more, in my own opinion. But you're right. You have to meter what you do the rest of the week. And sometimes that becomes the problem that people don't understand. You're racing right now, then the week is going to be spent building to recover from that race and building for that next weekend race or whatever it ends up being. And in the cycling world, I know that sometimes there's races every single weekend. I mean, you got the Giro going on. We just had, I think it was Liège going on, the Tour de France, you had world champs. And these guys are going like, this is the tightest scheduling's ever been. And so obviously they're not doing all of it.
Yeah.
But essentially, they are racing their way into fitness. You're going to watch some of these guys that maybe didn't do as well in the Tour de France that typically do well get better because they actually have races to build into it. So I think people need to race more, in my opinion, and quit spending $900 for a one-day event that can completely be derailed because you got a rock in your shoe. So
I 100% agree. You race as much as you can. Let your coach figure out what you do in between.
Yep.
Because it's not only is it really good training for racing, but it's a good rehearsal for what happens in the longer race. You get to rehearse your nutrition, your setup, like pre-race, post-race, all of that stuff. And yeah, like Jeremy said, you can race your way to better fitness. Julian Alaphilippe won the World Championship road race because of the Tour de France. Yeah. He knew he wasn't going to win the Tour de France. So he just said, I'm training for World Championships. And he's had another win since World Championships. So, yeah. He also had a relegation, but whatever. No big deal.
We're not here. We're not debating that, okay?
Right. Nobody's debating. He's not even debating that. He knew he was a jackass. So, yeah. So you can absolutely improve your fitness through racing because you're never going to train as hard as you race.
No way. No way.